Do you want to sleep? Then listen to me. Turn off the lights, close the windows, now close them and listen to you. Finally, I will make a request to you. Put down your phone and listen to my voice. Listen clearly. I will now tell you a story that will make you sleepy. Close your eyes and listen carefully to my words.
Birth of a Prophet. Michel de Nostradamus, later known to the world as Nostradamus, was born on December 14, 1503, in the small town of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence in southern France. Europe at this time was a place of fear and wonder, plagued by disease, religious conflict, superstition, and fascination with astrology and the unknown. His family was originally Jewish, but his grandfather converted to Catholicism to escape persecution. It was after this conversion that the family adopted the Latinized surname Nostradamus, meaning Our Lady. This blending of cultures, Jewish mysticism and Christian theology, would later deeply influence Michel's worldview. A brilliant mind from childhood. From a young age, Michel showed signs of exceptional intelligence. His grandfather, Jean de Saint-Rémy, was well educated in astronomy, mathematics, astrology, and ancient languages, and he personally taught Michel Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and ancient philosophy. While other children played, Michel studied the stars. Astrology in the 16th century was not considered superstition. It was a respected science tied closely to medicine and fate. 3. The shadow of the Black Death. Europe was still suffering from the Black Plague, a terrifying disease that wiped out millions. This would shape Michel's destiny. At around 15 years old, he enrolled at the University of Avignon to study medicine. But only 1 year later, the university closed due to a massive outbreak of the plague. Forced to leave formal education, Michel traveled across France, learning practical medicine firsthand. He treated plague victims using unconventional methods, clean air and hygiene, herbal remedies, removing infected corpses quickly, rejecting bloodletting, which was common at the time. These ideas were revolutionary and controversial. 4. Conflict with authority. In 1529, Michel resumed formal medical studies at the University of Montpellier, one of Europe's most prestigious institutions. However, his unorthodox ideas angered traditional doctors. He openly criticized bloodletting, use of toxic mercury treatments, blind reliance on ancient texts. Because of this, the medical establishment tried to expel him, accusing him of being an apothecary, an insult at the time. Though records are unclear, Michel continued practicing medicine regardless of official approval. 5. Tragedy and transformation. Around 1534, tragedy struck. Michel's wife and 2 children died, most likely from the plague. This devastating loss shattered him emotionally and spiritually. After this, he disappeared for several years. Historical records suggest he traveled across Italy, Greece, and possibly Egypt, studying ancient mysticism, astrology, Kabbalah, and Hermetic texts. This period marked his transformation from physician to seer. The return of a changed man. After years of wandering and silence, Michel de Nostradamus re-emerged in the early 1540s, but he was no longer just a physician. Those who met him sensed something different, a man withdrawn, deeply contemplative, and obsessed with the movements of the heavens. He settled in Salon de Provence, a quiet town where he remarried and built a stable life. Outwardly, he appeared to be a respected doctor and family man. In secret, however, his nights were devoted to astrology, meditation, and prophetic experiments. 2. The birth of the visions. According to his own writings, Nostradamus experienced visions late at night. He described sitting alone in a dark room, staring into a bowl of water or a polished surface, an ancient practice known as scrying. He combined astrological calculations, biblical symbolism, classical mythology, personal visions, and intuition. Nostradamus believed he was not predicting the future by magic, but interpreting divine patterns placed in the universe by God. To avoid accusations of witchcraft or heresy, he deliberately obscured his prophecies. 3. Writing the prophecies. In 1550, Nostradamus published his first astrological almanac, predicting weather, harvests, wars, and disasters for the coming year. It became an instant success across France. Encouraged, he began his life's greatest work, Les Prophéties. Published in 1555, this book contained cryptic four-line poems called quatrains, grouped into sets of 100 known as centuries. Key features of his writing: mixed French, Latin, Greek, and Italian, heavy use of metaphor and anagrams, no clear dates, intentional ambiguity. He wrote, "I have written that which will be fulfilled later after long consideration." 4. Fear of the Inquisition. During this era, the Catholic Church hunted heretics and witches. Open prophecy could mean execution. To protect himself, Nostradamus avoided exact names, disguised timelines, claimed divine inspiration rather than sorcery. This strategy worked. While many astrologers were burned at the stake, Nostradamus survived and thrived. 5. Fame reaches the royal court. Nostradamus's reputation spread rapidly. People believed his quatrains predicted epidemics, political assassinations, natural disasters, the rise and fall of kings. His fame reached Queen Catherine of Medici, wife of King Henry II of France. Intrigued and frightened, she summoned Nostradamus to Paris. After reading his prophecies, Catherine became convinced that he foresaw the violent death of King Henry II. She appointed Nostradamus as physician and counselor to the king. From this moment, Nostradamus was no longer just a mystic, he was a figure of power. The Fatal Tournament. In 1559, King Henry II of France organized a grand jousting tournament in Paris to celebrate the wedding of his daughter and the signing of a peace treaty. Despite being warned by astrologers and possibly by Nostradamus himself, the king insisted on competing. During the tournament, Henry faced Gabriel de Montgomery, a younger nobleman. Both bore lions on their coats of arms. As they charged, Montgomery's lance shattered. A splinter pierced Henry's helmet visor, the golden cage. The shard entered the king's eye and brain. The crowd fell silent. The prophecy had come alive. After 10 days of agony, King Henry II died. Europe in shock. When news spread, people rushed back to Nostradamus's quatrains. The lines seemed unmistakable. Young lion, Montgomery; older lion, King Henry II; field of combat, jousting arena; golden cage, the king's helmet. For the first time, Europe believed a man had seen the future. Nostradamus's fame exploded. To many, he was no longer an astrologer, but a true prophet. Rise to immortality. Following the king's death, Nostradamus was protected by the royal court. His books spread across Europe. Nobles, generals, and clergy sought his guidance. Queen Catherine de Medici relied heavily on him, especially concerning the fate of her sons, 3 of whom would become kings. The burden of knowing. Despite fame, Nostradamus lived in fear and isolation. He believed his visions extended thousands of years into the future, far beyond his lifetime. He wrote that his prophecies would unfold from now until the year 3797. Yet he also warned his words would be misunderstood, twisted for power, interpreted only after events occurred. Decline and death. In his final years, Nostradamus suffered from gout and arthritis, leaving him bedridden. Still, he continued writing. On the night of July 1st, 1966, he reportedly told his secretary, "You will not find me alive at sunrise." The next morning, July 2nd, 1966, Nostradamus was found dead beside his bed. He was 62 years old. Legacy begins. With his death, the legend truly began. Wars, revolutions, emperors, and disasters would later be linked to his quatrains: Napoleon, Hitler, world wars, and even the end of the world. But were these prophecies real, or reflections of human fear?
After 1566, Nostradamus' influence only grew stronger. His book, Les Prophecies, was reprinted again and again across Europe. Each generation believed the quatrains were speaking directly to their own time. What made Nostradamus unique was not clarity, but timeless ambiguity. His verses acted like mirrors, reflecting human fears during every major crisis. 2. The French Revolution. Many scholars believe Nostradamus predicted the French Revolution, 1789. Songs, chants, and demands come from the enslaved, while princes and lords are held captive in prisons. Supporters interpreted this as the fall of the monarchy, imprisonment of King Louis XVI, rise of the common people. For the first time, the prophecy was used to explain mass political upheaval. 3. Napoleon Bonaparte. One of the most famous interpretations involves Napoleon. An emperor will be born near Italy, who will cost the empire dearly. The name Napoleon Roy, appearing in another quatrain, is often cited as a near anagram of Napoleon Roy, Napoleon King. Whether coincidence or genius, the public was convinced Nostradamus had foreseen Napoleon's rise and fall. 4. The Shadow of Hitler. Perhaps the most chilling interpretations involve Adolf Hitler. Nostradamus wrote of a figure called Hister. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase toward the realm of the East. Historians noted that Hister was actually the Latin name for the lower Danube River, but many readers linked it to Hitler, especially after World War II. 5. World Wars and Global Chaos. Supporters claim Nostradamus predicted World War I and II, chemical warfare, mass destruction, cities in flames. His verses about fire from the sky and iron birds were later linked to bombers and nuclear weapons, though critics argue these interpretations were applied after events occurred. 6. The end of the world. Nostradamus famously suggested his prophecies extended until the year 3797. This led to centuries of fear about asteroid impacts, global floods, nuclear annihilation, spiritual judgment. However, Nostradamus never clearly predicted a specific end date for the world, only cycles of destruction and rebirth. 7. Believer versus skeptic. Today, Nostradamus divides the world into two camps. Believers say his accuracy proves divine insight, too many matches to be coincidence. Skeptics say his writing is deliberately vague,
Humans project meaning after events. Both sides agree on one thing. No other prophet has shaped history so powerfully without ever naming it clearly. 8. The final question. Was Nostradamus a true seer, or a master of language who understood human fear better than anyone else? Perhaps the real prophecy was not about the future, but about us.
Entering the modern age. As the world crossed into the 21st century, interest in Nostradamus surged again. Globalization, terrorism, climate change, pandemics, and rapid technological growth made people search his quatrains for meaning, just as their ancestors had during wars and plagues. Nostradamus never mentioned modern dates, nations, or technologies by name. Instead, interpreters searched for patterns, symbols, and echoes of his words in contemporary events. 2. The fall of towers in great cities. After the September 11, 2001 attacks, a quatrain often circulated. 2 steel birds will fall from the sky upon the metropolis. However, scholars later confirmed this exact verse does not exist in Nostradamus's writings. It was a modern fabrication. Still, other genuine quatrains about great thunder in the new city, fire from the heavens, cities laid low, were reinterpreted as references to New York, terrorism, and aerial warfare, showing how easily prophecy adapts to fear. 3. Plagues and pandemics. Nostradamus, having lived through the Black Death, wrote extensively about disease. A great plague in the maritime city will not cease until vengeance is complete. During outbreaks such as SARS, Ebola, and COVID-19, these verses resurfaced. Supporters argued he foresaw global pandemics, quarantines, social collapse. Skeptics replied that plagues were common in his time, making such predictions inevitable, not prophetic. 4. Climate and natural disasters. Some modern interpreters claim Nostradamus predicted rising seas, earthquakes, extreme heat, melting ice. Verses describing the sun scorching the sea, earth trembling in many lands, fire beneath the ground have been linked to climate change and geological instability, though again without clear dates or places. 5. The third Antichrist. Nostradamus spoke of 3 Antichrists, often linked to Napoleon, often linked to Hitler. The third, unnamed and feared. He wrote that the third would bring a great global war, religious conflict, widespread destruction. Many modern theories associate this figure with a future world leader, a global ideology, or even artificial intelligence. Nostradamus himself never clarified, perhaps intentionally. 6. Technology and the New World. Some readers see references to voices heard through the air, images carried across the world, the iron serpent as symbolic of the internet, satellites, smartphones, drones, and missiles. These interpretations remain speculative, but they highlight how his language continues to evolve with technology. 7. What Nostradamus really warned us about. If one message remains consistent, it is this: human pride leads to downfall. Power repeats its mistakes. History moves in cycles. Nostradamus may not have predicted specific events, but he predicted human behavior with frightening accuracy. 8. The future remains unwritten. Nostradamus ended his work with a warning, not of doom, but of humility. The future is not fixed.
only foretold in shadows. Whether prophet or poet, his greatest legacy is this question: do we shape the future or simply recognize it too late? How the myth grew bigger than the man. Centuries after Nostradamus' death, his name became more powerful than his writings. Printers, politicians, and prophets reused his quatrains to support their own causes. During wars and revolutions, his books sold more than ever. Fear made people listen. In some cases, quatrains were edited or mistranslated. Lines were taken out of context. Entirely fake prophecies were added. By the 18th and 19th centuries, Nostradamus had become a symbol, not just a person. Prophecy as a political weapon. Rulers learned that Nostradamus could influence the masses. During the French Revolution, both royalists and revolutionaries claimed his words supported them. In World War II, Nazi propaganda twisted his quatrains to predict German victory. Allied forces responded by publishing counter-interpretations predicting Hitler's defeat. For the first time, prophecy was used as psychological warfare. Scholars stepped in. Modern historians and linguists began to study Nostradamus seriously. They found his sources included ancient historians, the Bible, and astrology charts. Many quatrains describe events common in any era: war, famine, tyranny. Some verses reference past events, not future ones. Scholars argue Nostradamus used a method called post-diction, writing in a way that fits events after they happen. Why his predictions still feel accurate? Psychologists explain Nostradamus' power through human behavior. Confirmation bias, we notice hits and ignore misses. Pattern seeking, the brain looks for meaning in chaos. Fear amplification, uncertainty makes prophecy attractive. In short, Nostradamus understood the human mind centuries before psychology existed. What Nostradamus himself believed. In his letters, Nostradamus never claimed absolute certainty. He warned readers his visions were symbolic. Time could distort meaning. Free will still mattered. He saw himself as an interpreter, not a controller of fate. The man behind the legend. Stripped of myth, Nostradamus was a medical reformer ahead of his time, a survivor of plague and personal loss, a scholar balancing science, faith, and fear. His prophecies were born from a world where death was constant and the future terrifying. The final legacy. Nearly 500 years later, Nostradamus remains unmatched. No other figure has influenced so many generations, been reinterpreted so endlessly, survived skepticism and belief alike. His true prophecy may be this: as long as humans fear the future, they will return to Nostradamus.
Nostradamus in the digital age. In the age of the internet and social media, Nostradamus has found a new life. His quatrains now travel faster than ever, shared, reshaped, and sensationalized in seconds. Every global crisis brings a familiar pattern. A disaster occurs, old verses resurface, new meanings are attached. YouTube videos, blogs, and viral posts often claim Nostradamus predicted this exactly. Yet the words remain the same, only the interpretations change. 2. Fake prophecies and modern myths. One of the greatest challenges today is separating real Nostradamus quatrains from fake ones. Common signs of fake prophecies: modern terms, planes, America, computers, clear dates, which Nostradamus avoided, simple language instead of symbolic poetry. Ironically, fake prophecies often spread faster than authentic ones, strengthening his myth while weakening historical truth. 3. Nostradamus and artificial intelligence. Some modern thinkers draw a strange parallel. Nostradamus analyzed patterns in stars and history. AI analyzes patterns in data and behavior. Both attempt to predict outcomes, not through certainty, but probability. This has led to a new interpretation. Nostradamus was not predicting events, he was modeling human behavior. In that sense, he may have been centuries ahead of his time. 4. Why each generation finds its own Nostradamus. Every era reshapes Nostradamus to match its fears. The 1600s feared plague, the 1800s feared revolution, the 1900s feared world war, the 2000s fear collapse, climate, and control. His writings act like a blank map. Each generation draws its own future onto it. 5. Faith, fear, and free will. A question Nostradamus never answered clearly: is the future fixed? Many of his letters suggest the future exists as possibility. Human choices still matter. Prophecy is a warning, not a sentence. This idea transforms his work from doom into responsibility. 6. Nostradamus versus other prophets. Unlike religious prophets, he named no God, founded no faith, demanded no obedience. His power came from suggestion, not command, making him accessible to all beliefs and cultures. 7. The lasting echo. 5 centuries later, Nostradamus still speaks, not because he knew the future, but because he understood one eternal truth: humans fear tomorrow more than they understand today. As long as uncertainty exists, his words will be read again. Closing reflection. Nostradamus did not give us answers, he gave us questions, and perhaps that is why his voice has never fallen silent.
The most misunderstood quatrains. 1. Why misunderstanding happens. Nostradamus wrote in a deliberately cryptic style, mixed languages, French, Latin, Greek, Italian, heavy use of symbolism and metaphor, avoided dates, names, and locations. This ambiguity allows for multiple interpretations, sometimes wildly different. Over centuries, every reader sees their own fears reflected. 2. Famous misinterpreted quatrains. A. The 2 steel birds, September 11th myth. Many claim Nostradamus predicted the September 11th attacks. 2 steel birds will fall from the sky upon the metropolis. Reality: this line does not exist in his authentic writings. Modern fabrications inserted modern imagery to make it seem prophetic. Lesson: checked sources before believing predictions. B. Hitler as Hister. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase toward the realm of the east. Hister actually referred to the lower Danube River. Interpreters connected it to Hitler after the fact. This is a classic example of retrofitting prophecy to history. C. The Great Fire of London. The blood of the just will be demanded of London, burned by fire in the year 66. Some think it predicted 1666. Others argue it describes symbolic chaos, not literal fire. Nostradamus sometimes reused past events to hint at future cycles. 4. How to read Nostradamus correctly. Key tips: focus on symbols, not names. Lions are leaders or armies. Rivers are regions or boundaries. Fire is conflict or destruction. Look for recurring themes: war, plague, famine, tyranny. Avoid specific modern overlays. Planes, bombs, and skyscrapers are rarely mentioned. Understand human nature. His quatrains often predict behavior, not exact events. 4. Nostradamus in psychology. Many psychologists explain the popularity of his predictions through confirmation bias, we remember hits, ignore misses, pattern recognition, humans see meaning in chaos, anxiety in uncertainty, prophecy gives a sense of control. In this way, Nostradamus is less a prophet of events, more a prophet of human fear. 5. The legacy of misinterpretation. Even with misunderstandings, Nostradamus's work teaches ambiguity invites reflection, fear drives belief, history is cyclical, human behavior repeats. This is why his quatrains never stop being discussed, debated, or reinterpreted. 6. The key takeaway. Nostradamus's true genius was not predicting every detail of the future. It was writing in a way that made each generation see their own future and fears reflected back. In a sense, the prophecy is not in the words, it is in us.
From history to pop culture icon. Long after his death, Nostradamus became more than a historical figure. He became a symbol of prophecy, mystery, and the unknown. His influence spread across literature, movies, TV, and music, transforming him into a cultural icon. Some examples: books. Hundreds of modern books claim to decode his prophecies or link them to contemporary events. Movies. Films like Nostradamus 1994 dramatize his life, blending fact and fiction. TV shows. Documentaries often present him as a visionary who predicted modern disasters. Music and art. References appear in songs, paintings, and even comics, often emphasizing apocalyptic themes. Result? Nostradamus is less a historical figure and more a mirror for contemporary fears. The Nostradamus effect. Psychologists call this the Nostradamus effect. People reinterpret his writings to validate current events. Even failed predictions are ignored or explained away. The cycle reinforces belief in his powers, regardless of accuracy. Essentially, our need to find meaning in chaos keeps Nostradamus alive in popular culture. Nostradamus and the apocalypse industry. The late 20th century and early 21st centuries saw a surge in apocalyptic fascination. Y2K panic in 2000, Nostradamus was cited as a forewarning of global collapse. Natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, and pandemics are often linked to his quatrains. End-of-world predictions, books and documentaries speculate on his warnings for the future. He became less a historical figure and more a tool to frame fear and uncertainty. Nostradamus in modern literature and fiction. Novels. Writers reimagine him as a time traveler, sorcerer, or detective. Alternate history stories. Quatrains are used to connect historical events in imaginative ways. Video games. Nostradamus occasionally appears as a mystical character, guiding players or foreshadowing events. Through fiction, his symbolism continues to evolve, reaching audiences who may never read his original texts. Enduring fascination. Why does Nostradamus endure in modern media? Mystery. He offers answers that are never fully clear. Fear. Humans are drawn to warnings about danger. Interpretation. Each generation rewrites his prophecies to match contemporary anxieties. Timelessness. His writings address human nature, which never changes. In short, Nostradamus lives on because humanity continues to fear the future. Closing reflection. From the plague-ravaged streets of 16th century France to the digital age of the 21st century, Nostradamus remains a doctor, scholar, an observer of human nature, a poet of ambiguity and prophecy,
a mirror reflecting our greatest fears. Perhaps his greatest prediction is not about kings, wars, or disasters, but about human curiosity, anxiety, and imagination itself. Nostradamus, A Life in Summary. Michel de Nostradamus, born December 14, 1503, in Saint-Rémy de Provence, lived a life shaped by knowledge and curiosity. Trained in medicine, astrology, and classical languages. Tragedy, lost his first wife and children to plague. Innovation, practiced medicine with revolutionary methods. Mysticism, studied astrology, Kabbalah, and ancient prophecy. By combining science and mysticism, he became a figure whose words would echo for centuries. 2. The prophetic works. His most famous work, Les Prophecies, published in 1555, consisted of 942 quatrains grouped into centuries. Key characteristics: deliberately cryptic language, symbolism over specifics, predictions that often reflect cycles of human behavior rather than exact events. Major events linked to his writings include death of King Henry II in 1559, French Revolution in 1789, rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, world wars and global disasters. 3. Misinterpretations and myths. Many supposed predictions are fabricated or retrofitted. Ambiguity allowed every generation to see their own fears. Popular media exaggerated or misrepresented quatrains, giving Nostradamus a legendary status. Despite misinterpretations, the essence of his writing remains: warning, reflection, and understanding of human nature. 4. Legacy in the modern world. Nostradamus remains a cultural icon, appearing in books, movies, games, and media. His work continues to capture imagination, especially in times of fear or uncertainty. Modern psychology explains his appeal through confirmation bias in the human need for meaning. 5. Lessons from Nostradamus. History is cyclical. Humanity repeats mistakes. Symbols over specifics. Real insight often comes in metaphor. Uncertainty is human. Fear drives interpretation. Knowledge evolves. Science and mysticism coexist in complex ways. Free will matters. Prophecies warn but do not dictate. 6. The eternal question. Was Nostradamus a true seer or a brilliant observer who wrote in timeless ambiguity? The answer may lie not in the quatrains themselves, but in our own reflection. His prophecies endure because humans always seek patterns. They resonate because humans fear the unknown. They survive because humans hope to understand the future before it comes. Final reflection. Nostradamus did not leave a guidebook for the future. He left a mirror for humanity, a reminder that the future is uncertain, history repeats itself, and our actions shape what is yet to come. From plague-ridden Provence to the digital world, Nostradamus remains a doctor, a scholar, a mystic, a poet, a warning, a mirror, and a timeless symbol of humanity's fascination with the unknown. His life, writings, and legend remind us that while we cannot see the future, we can understand ourselves.
The man beyond the myths. Michel de Nostradamus, was more than a prophet. He was a physician who challenged medieval medicine, a scholar versed in astrology, mathematics, and classical languages, a poet and mystic who wrote cryptic quatrains reflecting human fear and hope. While history remembers the prophecies, the man himself faced personal tragedy, plagues, and political intrigue, yet used knowledge and observation to understand the world. The true power of his quatrains. Nostradamus's quatrains were deliberately ambiguous, mixing symbols, allegory, and multiple languages, avoiding specific names, dates, or locations, meant as warnings and reflections, not exact predictions. This ambiguity allowed each generation to interpret them according to their own fears and events, which is why his fame endures centuries later. Lessons across centuries. Even in modern times, Nostradamus's legacy teaches history repeats itself. Wars, plagues, and revolutions are cycles. Symbols speak louder than specifics. Interpretation requires thought, not literal reading. Fear shapes perception. Humans project meaning into ambiguity. Free will matters. The future is influenced by human choices. Nostradamus in culture. From the 16th century to the digital age, he remains a cultural icon. Books, documentaries, movies, and games continue to depict him. His work is often misunderstood or exaggerated, but fascination persists. He is a symbol of human curiosity about the unknown. The eternal question. Was Nostradamus a true seer, or simply a master of observation and symbolism? The answer may not matter. The real impact lies in how humans respond to uncertainty, how we interpret patterns in history, how we learn from cycles of behavior. The final reflection. Nostradamus left no roadmap for the future, only a mirror of human nature. His writings survive because humans fear the unknown. We look for patterns to understand it, and we hope to act wisely before it arrives. In the end, Nostradamus's greatest gift is not knowledge of the future, but understanding ourselves. The future is uncertain, but the choices we make today shape the world tomorrow.